Three, two, one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting film journey here on Inside Movies Galore. I am one of your hosts, but today we are going to finish our April animation month, Animation April, with a movie that who chose this one? Do you remember, Jake?
I
Was it?
do not, but I believe it might have been Brandon. I'm not
Yeah, I
sure.
think so.
I think it was Brandon. So unfortunately, Brandon couldn't be here. So let us talk about this movie. Well, I have it as Ninja Scroll the motion picture, but um, why don't you tell us a little bit more about this film for us, Jake?
Okay. So the movie we're watching tonight is a 1993 Japanese anime, originally called Jubei Ninpucho, although it was released here as Ninja Scroll. Written and directed by Yoshiaki Kawajiri, and starring Koichi Yamadera as the title ninja Jubei Kibagami. You also had Amy Shinohara and a handful of other pretty big, actually, when we get into it, some pretty big names in anime for the Japanese dub. I'll talk a little more about the others, I guess, later. But we've got a couple of different possibilities here. The IMDb description is: a vagabond swordsman is aided by Kunoichi and a spy in battling a demonic clan of killers led by a ghost from his past who are bent on overthrowing the Tokugawa shogunate. So, as with a great many Japanese productions, this takes place during the Warring States era. And it's a pretty simple plot. Pretty much what IMDb says is most of what you need to know, really. So we'll launch into it. I'll start to my right here with first impressions. Tammy, is this your first time with this movie, and what's your overall thoughts?
Yes, it's my first time, and I'm not really into Japanese anime, to be honest. Um, I really, it it didn't keep my interest really that much because, in fact, I was trying not to doze off. um, I really don't know what to say. It's just this this type of anime really isn't my cup of tea. It just wasn't really anything that really interested me about it. So um, I watched it. That was about it.
Very good. All right, so is that wraps it up for your thoughts?
Pretty much because I really don't know what else to say. I didn't get into it. It didn't keep my interest, and it's Japanese anime as a whole really doesn't interest me. So
You're right. Well, I have thoughts on doing that as a whole, but as I said in the pre-show, you may not be alone on this particular one. But anyway, we'll keep going. Forrest, how about you? Is this your first time with this, and what was your impression?
No, this is not my first time watching it. First time I saw this was I think I was in seventh grade. I was about 13 years old.
I'm sorry.
I remember seeing it on. I remember seeing it on show. I think it was like on Showtime. And yeah, and all of it. I don't watch a ton of anime, but I remember this along with Akira and Ghost in the Shell were among the few anime I actually enjoyed. But I think it was just for more on a more visceral level. Like I like the I mean, the animation was really good. But it was just like really basic. It's just like really visceral, stupid shit that I liked. Like the bloody like things I liked about it as a teenager, like bloody ninjas, bloody violence, creatures and monsters, naked naked anime women. So yeah, and but although it's been a few years since it's been a few years since I watched this, and I'll admit this on this recent rewatch, I had a hard time staying awake. I mean, I'll admit the blood and guts. I still, as someone who's a self-confessed gorehound, the blood and guts still appeal. The blood and guts and the ninjas still appeal. Also, as a fan of ninjas, ninja stuff, that stuff still appeals to me. But I do notice though that the film's treatment of treatment of female characters hasn't aged very well. Watching this as a 35-year-old versus watching it as a 13-year-old. Basically every female character in this is just basically they're basically just either they're just basically either there just to have sex with to try and have sex with the heroes and villains, or they're like, they can't be, they can't really do, they're I want to say damsel in distress, but they can't really. It's like they're almost very they're like defenseless,
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I always kind of like I'll admit I don't know. I guess I'm trying to think how to put that. I still for the most part find it very entertaining, but I do find that still try to find it on one hand I find it entertaining, on the other hand I had a hard time watching it now as an adult. I loved it as a teenager. As an adult, I still find it entertaining, but at the same time I had a hard time keeping awake watching it, and also the movie's portrayal of women didn't age very well. Or how women are portrayed in the movie didn't age very well.
All right, of course. How about you, Dave? Is this your first time with this one, and what are your initial thoughts?
This is my first time with the film. It's not that I hadn't heard of it before. Anyone I've ever known who has had a discussion about anime has mentioned this film as being like one of the best films out there. That being said, I did watch it. It was maybe because I was watching it during the daytime this time and not at night. But I enjoy the backstory story of it with the lone samurai who's kind of like paid for money. I like his attitude, especially towards women. And he seems to be a rather likable hero, whereas the other characters are less than savory and often questionable. And honestly, there's only two characters.
You don't think this character that I have as my image here he doesn't look trustworthy to you?
Well, he's kind of riding that double-edged sword, where he's like in between being a Mr. Miyagi character and yet you can't really trust him either,
I trust Miyagi more Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I can see the Obi-Wan, but definitely some interesting character development. I do like the blood. I'm gonna say I do enjoy the nudity a little bit, but it does get a tad rapey.
Exactly. I think that was my problem with it. Yeah.
I mean, it would be one thing to just be straight on, full on. Okay. You see the woman's body full frontal, but you get to see all the extra bits, and Uh, not exactly in a good way. So I agree with you there, Forrest, that they don't exactly treat women well. So, but in the end result, I thought it was pretty decent far as the storyline goes. But there was a lot going on, and trying to understand the politics behind it was a little hard to understand. So I had to read up on a little bit of like the time period and like the different like clans that were involved with the thing, and it's kind of a lot to take in, in a first watch. But maybe down the road I wouldn't mind rewatching it again. And I also have the series myself, so I wouldn't mind checking that out just to see if it was less, no, less or more. So I guess that's pretty much my first impressions of it. Did I like it? I'm neutral. I'm neutral, though I love blood and I love nudity. I mean, I love the nudity in high school. What was it?
High School of the Dead?
High school what?
Was that High School of the Dead you're talking about?
Yeah, High School of the Dead. I love the nudity in that was safe.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you join us next week for To Love Ru, that one has nudity as well.
But this was a little bit more extreme. So,
yeah.
That being said, I think that's pretty much my first impressions. So.
Okay. Well, in all honesty, I was kind of coming in thinking I would be the odd one. I mean, I wasn't sure if Tammy showed up. I had a feeling she wouldn't be a fan either, but I was kind of thinking I'd be the odd one out. But I guess not as much. I have a long and interesting and conflicted history with this one. I've actually never seen the series, and I've had little desire to, but I guess one day I'll get around to it. Dave, you're absolutely correct that most people who are anime fans will talk about Ninja Scroll. Yeah. But I wouldn't say most of them say it's their favorite or that it's a great film. A lot of them do, especially the teens.
Well, most that I've known in my past.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's definitely an anime that appeals more to. It's definitely one more for teens, especially teenage boys.
Yes, very much so. And actually, I was introduced to this as a teen. My one of my brothers, particularly ironic that he of all people was really my first exposure. I say my first exposure to anime actually was an old series that Japan co-produced with the Christian Broadcasting Network, if you can believe. Superbook. It was my first exposure to anime. And Voltron probably around that time too. But the first time I saw anime that I knew was anime, that was like that was different, that was set apart as this is anime. This is from Japan. It's cool, and it's was like my brother getting into it, and he got into this movie. He got Ghost in the Shell, and I gave him flack for spending $30 odd on a VHS for that movie. And my first impression of Ghost in the Shell was it bored me. But this one did not bore me. This one viscerally turned me off. This put me off of anime for years, this movie. If y'all know me, you know that I've come around the other way now. But I can blame this movie for severely delaying my appreciation for the genre. You could call it a genre, I guess, but subgenre more. But ironically, and at the same time, this was also my first encounter with J-pop. And this movie has a theme at the end that is Daremo ga toko de ballad o kiteiru. I probably butchered that slightly. I apologize. By Ryohei Yamanashi. And I'm not 100% sure the translation of that. But whatever the case, that theme is flipping gorgeous. And my brother had somehow gotten a hold of a cassette recording of it, and he played it in the car a lot. So that was my first encounter with J-pop, and I have always loved the theme song from this movie, and it is a wonderful song. But the movie itself, like I said, I hated it for years. Eventually, I came back around. I was like, I gotta give it another try. And I was just, okay. It's like a video game as a movie. And I kind of dismissed it that way. And then this is the first time I've seen it in a long time. And I actually watched it in both English and Japanese to prepare for this. But to be honest, the main reason I watched it in English is because I slept through half of my viewing of the Japanese. And I wanted to make sure I remembered it. And I was like, well, everyone else probably saw the English dub.
Yeah, I mean, I watched both. Because I watched this twice before the show, and both times I watched the English dub.
Okay, yeah, and I'm going to guess Dave and Tammy, you guys probably did the English as well.
Yep.
So I figured it would be good to have that one done at least. That may have been the first I saw. Actually, I didn't think about it at the time. But that, like I said, that was years and years and years ago. I found it a little bit dull myself. Hard to keep my focus. Granted, last night I was tired as shit. So that was one reason I couldn't stay. But yeah, so essentially I saw it 2 more times, but I also kind of really saw it maybe 1.5 more times. It's I will say this, I feel the English dub is actually not bad. It's a little overacted, but they did a good job matching the voices to the roles, and I don't have that many complaints about it, strangely enough. That kind of surprised me.
No, that part I do have to agree with you. I do think that they got the voices pretty much, spot on for what they were going for.
Right. I mean, again, the original cast, you got, like I say, Koichi Amadera. He's pretty much royalty in voice acting. He is one of the guys but you also got Emi Shinohara, Daisuke Gowri, Gara Takashima, Norio Wakamoto, Toshiko Seki, Ichiro Nagai. You got a hell of a cast in that movie in the Japanese dub. The English dub is not quite as high wattage, but you got Dean Elliott as Jubei, Richard Epcar as Genma, Wendy Lee as Kagero. That they've actually, between them, they've done a fair number of notable roles. Wendy Lee in particular has done quite a few notable roles. So, you got some pretty decent vocal talent there. And I guess we'll get to some of the other aspects of the production as we go. But
I did want to say one thing. Apparently, this film is regarded as one of the most influential anime films ever made.
It is.
And the Wachowskis have cited that it was an influence on The Matrix.
I could see that.
I could
And
absolutely
which
see
is why Kawajiri then later contributed to the anthology film The Animatrix.
Yeah. I could absolutely see that. I could it makes sense. And apparently the director of this film, another film he did was Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, which we did the original D a little while back. We'll have to do Bloodlust eventually. And Bloodlust I did enjoy. I actually thought was a pretty fun movie. But this one, so we'll start the plot is really simple with this, and it's pretty straightforward. But you basically start with this wandering ninja. They call him a ninja, but really he's almost more of a samurai. Like
Yeah.
Yojimbo.
yeah. Well, Yojimbo for high, essentially,
Yeah.
essentially a Ronin. He's a warrior without a master, basically, and he just wanders about. And we meet him as he's leaving a village that he apparently protected from these thugs who were trying to steal a sword and hold it for ransom. And he easily dispatches them and humiliates them. and they're like, it's like, they hired you for 20 gold pieces. We could have gotten 300 for the sword. Why? And he's like, no, you couldn't. They couldn't afford it. Give it up. you know. But honestly, our first time we meet Jubei, and I'm curious what y'all think, he does come across as fairly an entertaining fellow at first. He kind of has that sort of Toshiro Mifune sort of devil care attitude. He seems a decent fellow, but he also seems like I do what I want, basically.
Well, yeah, he's got that doesn't give a shit attitude. At least up until like he meets that poisonous ninja.
Right. So basically, you see that, you meet him, but then you also are introduced to you see the I guess you could say the fallout of a village has come under attack, and there are rumors of an epidemic, and they're trying to lock down the area because supposedly a whole town had died from this epidemic. You eventually find out that the people that attacked the village just basically poisoned the well, as it were, or rather literally, I suppose. But this clan, this rather small clan, the what was their name? The Kaga something or other.
Kageru. No, that's
geez, I'm trying to remember.
The Yamashiro clan.
Yes.
Yamashiro. Okay.
It basically mines gold in secret and then sends a shipment to.
No, that's not who I'm trying to think of. But yeah, that was one of the plot points, no doubt. But basically, you have this small clan that is curious because I think they're like neighboring to one of the villages or whatever, and they want to know what's going on. Or specifically, one of the heads of the head of their ninja assemblage, who I guess is the security force for this group. They want to find out like what's going on. What's going on with this? This could be a problem for us. And the Chamberlain at first dismisses it. He's like, no, don't worry about it. It's nothing to us. But then he's like, no, you should look into it. So the ninjas go, they have a meeting, and at that meeting, Kagero, who is part of their clan, but apparently is on extended assignment as a poison taster, and who also happens to be like the lone female of the clan, the lone Kunoichi, it seems. She insists on coming along, and they go and are obliterated by one particular individual who, this big hulking rocky dude with a pretty cool weapon. It's kind of like what would y'all call that? It's like double bladed boomerang almost, but not really.
Yeah.
It's almost like, and I hate to think that I could have been influenced by this movie without even realizing it. But I had a character whose fighting style was two double-bladed kunai held apart from each other. This weapon reminds me of what I had visualized for that. So I don't know, maybe subconsciously this movie influenced me even. I don't know. But that guy, after basically obliterating the group, actually, I'm trying to remember. Did she didn't report back until afterwards, right?
No, she didn't report back until after.
Okay, so he basically sees her and goes, "Ooh, piece of candy," basically. And he takes her out and into an abandoned looking building and gets all rapey. And before he can actually do anything, he notices some guy off in the corner, and he basically tells him, look, you need to get out of here.
And he's just asking for directions.
Yeah. Well, the guy comes up to him. He's like, "Hey, can you give me directions?"
I thought that was actually kind of funny.
And he's like, "No, man, get out of here. I'm telling you." And they end up, of course, a battle ensues. And Jubei, the guy who had been chilling in the corner, ends up helping Kagero get away from this. The big dude's name is, his name, Tessai. Yeah. So they get away briefly from Tessai, and he is called.
One thing that should be said is that he turns into like this dude of stone.
Pretty much, yeah. He's a big guy to begin with, but he has the ability to turn into stone, and makes him even harder to handle. And Yorimaru, who's one of his fellow, they're called the 8 demons of Kigan, I think was their
yeah.
And of course there's 8 of them. And they had, I think I skipped over them dispatching one of them. I'm trying to remember who it was.
Well, there is a lady that seems to have tattoos of snakes, and then
we haven't gotten her yet. But,
but there is a scene where you first see like the dude wrapped in like white, and I think he's speaking to someone or praying to someone, or I don't know what he is, but you see him very briefly.
Right. Well, okay, let's see here. So we got Tessai is the big dude. Genma Himuro is the main dude, the big bad. And you got Yorimaru is his second in command, the really fussy one, I guess you could say. And then you got Benisato, I think is the snake lady, and Zakuro is the lady who uses all the explosives. Majuro Otsutsu is the blind one, the blind swordsman. And then Genpachi is the dude with all the wasps. And then, so I guess Shijima must be the really creepy gray one, right?
Yeah,
so. I think so. I think that's 8. So actually, yeah, Tessai must be the first one they get rid of. He is told by Yorimaru to leave them alone, and that allows Kagero to get home and make her report, and she's told to go back and do more research. And Jubei, meanwhile, meets up with Tessai and nearly gets the crap beat out of him. And he is saved by Dakuan, who is the creepy old dude whose picture I have up here, who turns out to be a spy for, I guess, for the main government. But he also is, I think the idea of saying he's sort of like Obi-Wan, but a very amoral version is kind of a good way to put it. He has his mission and he will follow it no matter what, basically. He's kind of a piece of work. And basically he ropes Jubei into doing his bidding by poisoning him.
Yep.
And he says, I can get you the antidote and 100 gold, but only if you do what I tell you. Yeah. Or more like he says, I'll give you the 100 gold. Jubei tells him to bugger off. And he's like, oh, and I'll also give you the antidote.
So he's blackmailed into doing
essentially it. Yeah. And then when Kagero comes along, she ends up kind of becoming sort of the third wheel, if you will. He apparently knows the nature of her affliction and decides that she would be worth having at least available, I guess you could say. But he doesn't seem to care one way or another about whether she's alive or not. He's such a warm individual. And Jubei, meanwhile, keeps trying to get her to leave for her own good. He keeps trying to, no, it's too dangerous. Get out of here. Go live your life. She's
like, she's got her own mission, and not so.
And this is one thing where I will agree with Forrest. The women in this movie are not well written.
Yeah.
And the main thing with Kagero, and Jubei points this out multiple times, he actually takes her to task for it. It's not just that she would give her life for the mission. She seems to genuinely believe she has no need to keep living. Like, she genuinely doesn't seem to care about her own
well-being,
health or well-being. Yeah, she really doesn't. She apparently knows her lot in life and doesn't care.
And Jubei actually tells her, I hate people who don't care for their own well-being.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which that does, you do see him show his ass a couple times with her, but I feel like he means well for the most part. And she, I kind of liked her as a character. She's certainly good at what she does, but I do agree that she is that insecurity, that lack of self-preservation. She kind of did get on my nerves a little bit with that. and it was a shame that she wasn't better written. The two female assassins, the explosives one in particular gets a little more I wouldn't call characterization. She's a little more interesting, let's put it that way. But even with her, it's it comes back to those ideas of traditional roles and whatever. She really wants to go to bed with the one guy, and he keeps spurning her advances, and she ends up blowing him up in the end. And it's like, okay, well,
yeah, she's like to her captain, who's basically just running off the ship with the goods and shit. He's like, pull off anchor, after he hears the story about it. Oh, he just fell into my trap.
She does get onto the ship, but But at any rate, so basically from there it's kind of wandering, a little bit of dialogue, boss battle, wandering, a little bit of dialogue, boss battle, then boss. I said before I thought this was like almost like a video game put to film, and honestly, the way it's structured, it kind of is mid boss, mid boss, mid boss, bigger boss, and it's. I'm gonna be honest, it's not that deep of a film. This is one of the reasons I laughed when you told me to host. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to say. But if you guys have any particular plot points you really want to delve into, I guess now would be the time.
I don't know. I can't remember because I kept falling asleep.
Well, it's funny that you say it plays like a video game, because I remember it being a video game too, if I remember.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
For the PSP, and I'm not sure if there were any before that.
I don't remember if there was a video game. I'm seeing that there was an anime series, a comic book series, which I remember was put out by DC Wildstorm.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's it. I'm just scroll a video game. Actually, no. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. There was a video game for PSP.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, so basically, I guess, like I said, this, that, and the other happens. Basically, I think the next big bad, I think they have an encounter with Benisato. He's like in the hot spring. Actually, yeah, I think that was when Dakuan really got him on his side, because Benisato was about to, like, she had him in her spell, basically, and the Dakuan throws a throwing star at him, and that breaks him out of it, and, comes back to consciousness. But then at the end, after bribing him with 100 and getting nowhere, he's like, I'll give you the antidote. That's when he's like, yeah, that throwing star. Yeah, I poisoned you when I hit you with that, So we also, I think the next one after Kagero comes back with them was Genpachi, who had, again, the swarm of wasps. And he was kind of a creepy dude. I mean, a couple of these dudes were pretty creepy, but that guy, I don't know, the whole thing about the hive in the back, I'm like, but they end up, one thing I will say is that the Eight Devils, it's a creative bunch, like in terms of their particular skill sets, and you might say powers, it's an eclectic bunch. And I think they did a pretty good job using them, to keep things lively, I guess you might say. But they dispatch Genpachi, and then I feel like they kind of went a little ways, and then suddenly it was like all at once. If I'm remembering correctly, I want to say the big battle with Benisato might have been the next one, and then
you're talking about the part where she actually like whistled a bird.
Well, that came in that I think probably came at the end of that,
okay,
or thereabouts. I'm really having trouble remembering that particular one. But then I think Mujuro Yutsutsu was the next one, because that was actually kind of and he's apparently voiced in the English, and the head of the Koga Ninja, Hanza, was also voiced by the actor's name is Spanky Roberts. It's like, okay, that's pretty fun. I like that. But I don't know what y'all think. I personally actually kind of liked. It was a very brief scene. I mean, a couple of these actually were almost shockingly brief. But his was very brief. But basically, he does a one-on-one sword fight with Jubei in a bamboo forest, and I
The blind sword.
This part I thought was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I actually liked that sequence. I thought it was pretty well animated.
Yeah,
The use of sound, because he was blind, sound was actually quite important. I thought that was pretty fun. And I do believe that I think that was when Shijima kidnapped Kagero, I think. And they had to go and rescue her, and that was another. That was, Duckhorn got really pissed that she wanted to go off and do her own thing, and and incidentally, y'all mentioned the bird. Kagero had sent a bird back to the Chamberlain, letting him know what was going on. They had figured out that a ship that had kind of drifted into harbor at this town was probably loaded with gold. And that was probably why they had run everyone out of town with this whole epidemic scare, or killed them and, run out of town. So they could have the gold, basically, which I'm still a little unclear about that, because it sounded to me like the gold was bound for them anyway.
Well, from what I understand, the gold was actually let me look back here. So the gold was in fact mined, and then I believe it was that
the clan you mentioned before.
Yeah, trying to go back back to the plot here for a moment. I'm on Wiki. Okay, so the Yashimura clan mines this gold in secret and sends a shipment to the Toyotomi Shogun of the Dark as payment for his protection. And then the Shogun of the Dark then intends to use the gold to buy advanced Spanish weaponry and overthrow the current government, the Tokugawa Shogunate. And then the ship runs aground onto Makazuki territory in a storm, and the Eight Devils of Kimon, then in the employ of Yamashiro, kill the people of the nearby Shimoto village to keep the gold shipment a secret. So,
all right,
and that's where we have our trio show up and realize that this is going on. And if it gets in the hands of the wrong people, certain things can fall into play. So,
right. Basically, the concern, of course, is that with this gold, Genma could basically have the power to rival, even though there is this supposed what do they call them, the something of the dark. Why am I having trouble with that?
You know what I don't get in the English dub, and going back earlier, that Obi-Wan type character, he made our Vegamond samurai aware of the poisonous nature of the shuriken, or not her, the ninja girl. Um, and
Yeah.
he said that hey, she can kill everybody that she has sex with, and he said, look at what happened to Tessai. That's how he turned into what he was.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand how the way that he was able to turn into stone was
Yeah.
because he had sex with her or something like that.
No. Turning into stone was his thing.
Okay.
I think when he started breaking down a bit, started crumbling, that was probably due to the effects of the poison.
Okay, because he touched her. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Essentially, she's kind of like a caterpillar, kind of taking in the toxins and then redeploying them. Apparently, and that's kind of interesting. Kind of an interesting thought. And of course, he tells Kageru, if you want to, you can cure Junpei. She's like, Jubei. He's like, you're the one that has his fate in your hands, basically. So at some point before, actually, when Jubei rescues her from Shima,
Yeah.
I think that
He
was
gets
when she decided to try to do that.
Yeah, and
Was that?
it goes wrong. I believe she gets a spear in her backside.
Well, not just yet, but yeah, coming up soon. Because I started to say, and I don't think I finished the thought, and I don't know why. But we mentioned her sending off, or maybe I did. Maybe I just can't remember finishing. But anyway, so basically, the Chamberlain did get the word, supposedly. We come to find out that it wasn't actually the Chamberlain who got the word of what was going on. But it, nonetheless, he apparently shows up at the 11th hour with all his, all the people. And she walks right into the trap. And it turns out that it's Genma in disguise, and he spears her. And, doesn't go so well for her.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm trying to remember if it was, I think he moved on to the ship, and at that point, Zakuro and Yorimaru come into play, trying to, Yorimaru takes on Jubei, and doesn't, he was kind of saying his goodbyes to her, and then Yorimaru interrupts him. Am I remembering that correctly? Because he's the dude with the electrical wires, and he always shows up at inopportune moments, rather shockingly, you might say. And they start to have what turns out to be a very brief battle, because Zakuro, as we said before, pissed off at Yorimaru once after another, just blowing her off, basically sends an explosive-laden rodent into the room. And Jubei is able to get away, but the other one is not so lucky. And she shows up on the dock carrying his charred arm. It's, like, oh, he won't be joining us, basically. But like I say, I'm probably getting some of that order mixed up. But the end of the movie really was the part I had trouble staying awake both times. That's really sad to say, but It's true. Sounded like y'all kind of had a similar feeling. But anyway, so we get on the ship. Well, first of all, Jubei sends off Kageru's body on a little boat of her own. Kind of gives her almost sort of like a Viking style send off, but without all the fire. And he ends up finding his way back onto the ship and basically starts a fire. Manages to get, what's up?
As he starts a fire on the ship.
Yeah. Basically manages to get Benisato to blow herself up. I can't remember exactly how that happened, but basically it wasn't a good idea for her to be surrounded by fire, if I'm not mistaken. And he ends up going toe-to-toe with Genma, and it is not a pretty battle because this guy can regenerate very well. And it's eventually all that fire manages to melt some gold. And if I recall correctly, I feel like Genma basically gets encased in gold and stuck, if you will.
Getting that King Midas feeling going on, hey?
What's that?
Getting that old King Midas feeling for him.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, that gold will weigh you down if you're not careful. Yeah. But at any rate, that's pretty much it. Ship goes down. Jubei, I guess, goes on to his next adventure. That's pretty much it. It's kind of an abrupt ending. Kind of just goes right into that really kick-ass theme song.
Yeah, it is kind of an abrupt ending. You almost kind of expected a little bit more than that, you know.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it for this movie.
Yeah, I think that pretty much does cover a plot. Does anyone have anything else they want to do on plot or character?
Nothing too much, except for the fact that the Chamberlain, the dude that the ninja girl was supposed to report to while she was reporting the whole thing, he was banging a chick. So.
Oh, there was that, yeah. although from what Genma says at the during when there's the big reveal, it might have actually been him in that scene because I think he said the Chamberlain had died 2 days ago. Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure the timeline there, but it's possible that was already Genma in disguise. But whatever the case, yeah. It made her feel a little awkward to be reporting in those conditions. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, as well it should be, I guess. So if nothing else on plot and character, well, we can go ahead and go into production. And I feel like I've heard a couple comments already, but what are y'all's overall thoughts on the animation and the overall look of the film?
That to me was the strong point of the movie. It looks fantastic. A lot of the action sequences are really good, are really well done. Especially like the scenes like this, like in the the tree battle, the final battle on the ship. When he's going after the ninjas, that's a lot of the animation is, and also the snake tattoos coming to life. All that was really well done. It's definitely. I think it's definitely the animation is definitely the strong point of the movie.
Okay.
I think so too. I mean, for the most part, I enjoyed the bloody bits. Of the blood.
Same here.
and some of the nudity, not all of it, some of it, because the ninja girl, she was sexy as hell, undressed.
I would say as sexy as you can get for a cartoon character.
Yeah,
Just
but
about.
the way that they were treated was uncalled called
Yeah.
for, and I feel like, yeah, like Forrest said, it hasn't really aged well. So
This coming from the one who loves Bunny the Killer thing.
hey, I do enjoy that. I do enjoy it.
Well, anyway, I would mostly agree. This, when I was a kid, I was scandalized by some of the visuals in this one, and
Same here.
And I know that this is one of the reasons why this movie is held in such high regard as an influential anime, is it was produced at a time where animators were starting to be able to go places they had never gone before. And a couple of them went a little crazy. And I think this is what this movie did. It was kind of a shock value just because they could kind of movie.
Yeah,
Which
that was kind of the overall. I think that was kind of the overall trend. I feel like that was the overall trend in the late '80s and the '90s.
And I think the there was some weird and crazy and shocking stuff in Akira.
It was a front runner for adult Japanese animations. That's for sure for this one. Because then it allowed other things to filter through.
It did.
Yeah, for me, like I will say this. I think this along with Akira and Ghost in the Shell are for me at least are the holy trinity of adult anime.
Well, Ghost in the Shell brought a much more cerebral vibe to it than this one did. Akira was kind of in the middle. It was an action film that really did have a kind of a cerebral edge to it. This one, and there were some others too, and some shows too. This came out around the same time as what is it? Tokyo or Doom Megalopolis, I think, came out around the same time this did. There were a couple others in that vein. This was also just a couple years before Evangelion. A lot of stuff that kind of pushed the boundaries. This one, when I was a kid, I was straight up scandalized. I was like, cartoon's not supposed to do that. And of course, I am a very different viewpoint. But now I would say,
and I was going to say around the time I watched this, I'd already seen HBO's Spawn.
For me, I had not yet seen anything like that.
I was introduced to Night Shift Nurses long before this. Long before this. But so I think that trumps this.
Night Shift Nurses might actually owe a debt to this. It probably does. But I will say now, by my standards now, I have actually seen anime now that are arguably more disturbing in terms of the visuals. I've seen ones that are arguably bloodier. The gore quotient in this is much less than I remembered it being, which is good. And the nudity, for the most part,
though this movie was bloody, it seemed rather tame to me. To stuff that.
Well, again, by today's standards, you could say that. And again, by the standards of what I've watched for this group, but honestly, I am disappointed we don't have a larger group, because I think a lot of people that we have shared this show with would have probably much more positive things to say about this particular program. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if Dustin was one of them. But I could be wrong. What's that?
I did have one thing to say that I noticed in the production, though.
Yeah.
I know I saw more than one instance where the scene was definitely a repeat.
They did recycle some footage, yes.
Yes, there was
Yeah.
definitely recycling, like when they were loading the ship,
Mm-hmm.
and then when he was fighting those ninjas by himself, you know, um, that was definitely yeah.
Yeah. I
So
noticed that in that big battle at the end. You talking about the big battle at the end?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, with the chopping off of the heads and shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And part of that was because we mentioned the bamboo scene, and then you had all the fire on the ship. There were some pretty well animated sequences, but that probably took up a lot of the time and budget. So they had to cut corners here and there. And unfortunately, that is something you often see in animated films. We talked about it last week with Black Cauldron. They did that a little bit, but yeah, that's a good observation, definitely. And as far as one thing else I want to say about the animation, I put the old man up here partly because I think he had one of the most interesting and distinctive looks of the whole movie. But some of the characters were very distinctive, very well done, but a lot of the guys were built from the same template, and all the girls were. I think all the girls had basically the same face, just with minor variations. And as great as the animation was on their bodies, I did not find their faces all that appealing, honestly. And the guys, again, a lot of them were kind of cookie cutter. Like Jubei himself is actually not that distinctive looking a character. I don't know if
the
the
only
rest of y'all would
character
agree
that
with
is
that.
very distinctive is our Obi-Wan character.
Yeah, that's what he said. He was very distinctive. The dude with the wasp hive was also pretty just a couple of the freaky ones, like the wasp dude and the rock dude, they were a little more distinctive. And the Chamberlain was actually a very distinctive looking character, very not an appealing looking character, but distinctive. And I will
Yeah,
say,
I kept thinking Tessie was a little bit between Rockbiter and the Thing from Fantastic Four.
right. And I will say that the snake lady, I did love the tattoos, and I thought they did a really good job with the tattoos. It just, like I said, I just felt like they could have done a little better with that. Well, that sort of
I
block.
almost wonder if they might have gotten the idea of the snake. The idea of tattoos being able to come off someone in the Tin Man miniseries that was on Sci-Fi, where the flying monkeys were actually tattoos on the witch, and they flew off of her.
But didn't that come like long because this movie came out in 1993? Didn't that happen?
That came out long after. Yes, that's why I was saying that it's possible that someone could have seen that and was like, "Hey, we could do that with our flying monkeys."
Right. You see something kind of like that every now and then. I'm trying to think of someone else where I've seen tattoos that actually come to life. But I have seen people who do drawings that come to life, like there's that one dude in Fairy Tale who draws stuff and it actually comes to life. But then as far as tattoos, there was the one woman on Heroes who had like the tattoos that had special powers and whatever. But it's been a minute since I've seen season 4. I can't remember the particulars of that. But
I watched that series. I picked it up, but I haven't watched it yet.
It's a good one. I really wish they had maintained the momentum they had in season 1, but you can't win them all. I think they were getting it back in season 4, and then they gave up, basically. So we've got we're up through the production values. Okay, so music. I've already mentioned a few times how much I love the theme song, but overall, I think this one Has
That ending theme that you
pretty-
hear right after the credits, right?
yeah.
I didn't mind
I
that.
do-
I didn't mind that one. I
Okay.
listened to it a little bit, but I didn't hear it fully. I'll have to
Okay.
listen to it again just to hear. I know it was sung in Japanese. Sometimes they actually sing theme songs in English. So
Sometimes. Yeah. It's very rare that you'll see an original Japanese cut that has an English song, but it does happen. But you will sometimes see in the dubbed versions they'll redub one. It happens from time to time.
yep.
So we have but as far as the background music, I feel like it did its job without really being extraordinarily noticeable. I feel like it was again good, but not really. And their background music is by. I know I have it here.
It's like Kaoru Wada.
Yes, Kagero Wada. Yes, Akaru Wada. Sorry, and I feel like I know that name. What else do I know that name from?
Let's see. He's done
Uh,
Battle Angel,
okay, Inuyasha.
Inuyasha,
Oh, that's a big one.
Gilgamesh.
Samurai 7. Okay. And Ghost Stories.
Oh, and the Kingdom Hearts games.
I have to laugh at that. I really do. Okay, one of these days on the other channel we'll cover Ghost Story, and Dave, you'll find out why. Or wait, we didn't already do it, right? I'm just making that up. I don't think we already did Ghost Stories, right?
No,
Yeah,
I don't
whatever.
think so.
That one has an absolutely wonderful end theme that is woefully inappropriate for that series. It's great. I love it. I love how horribly inappropriate the song is, but it's funny though. It's a fun one. But that was one where the Japanese dub is okay. The English dub is hilarious because they basically said, screw it. We'll do what we want. But anyway, so nowhere near the fidelity of this one. And again, I will say this one, having seen both versions, the English dub did a good job being faithful to the original. I have no serious complaints except that some of the acting was a little more overacted in the English, I think. But otherwise, no real issues there. Does anyone else have any general thoughts on the production overall?
Not that I know of.
Not really. I mean,
Okay. All right. Well, we're making pretty good time. So, Tammy, I know at the beginning you said you weren't going to have a lot to say. Did you have anything you want to throw in before we move on to favorites, or?
Not really. I'm sorry. It just wasn't my cup of tea, you know.
Yeah,
I did watch it. David asked that I at least please watch it. And then please
Okay.
go on and say what I felt about it,
Okay.
whether I liked it or not. And if I didn't like it, tell everybody why I didn't like it.
Right.
She thinks that Japanese animation, oftentimes they all look the same. There's no individuality. These are things that she's told me over time. And
well, apparently we agreed with you on that for this one, right?
for the most part, I do think that some of the faces looked the same, and that kind of thing. But there were things that I enjoyed. But then I've had more experience with Japanese animation over time myself. Me, I know you mentioned one of the ones that got you into Japanese anime. I got into it through Unico, the movies,
right,
and Lily Cat. So
Actually, I still have yet to see Lily Cat. I just know it by reputation, and what a reputation it has.
and for some reason, I just enjoy those, So
Yeah.
The only one that I got into is the Vampire Deep because, well, I collect my vampire Dracula stuff, and I gave that one a chance and watched it, and I was like, well, okay, it has to do with a vampire, okay.
When we do Bloodlust, I'd recommend checking that one out because I honestly do think it's the better of the two films. But that's and there are a lot of good vampire anime out there, but you were probably wise not to jump into the one that we did in February. Carrion is it was a hard sell for anime fans. But one of these days we'll cover some of the others, and there are plenty of them out there. But anyway, I guess we might as well go into favorites, such as they are. I guess if everyone wants to, let me think here. I guess if you've got a favorite character, go ahead and mention that. If you happen to have a favorite line and or scene, mention that. And what would be... I can't think of anything creative right now.
doesn't have to be.
Go with basic. We'll go with basics. Dave, why don't we start with you?
Okay. I guess I'd as far as favorite scenes, I have three. I enjoy the scene with Tessie when he comes over and starts asking for directions. That mildly amuses me. I do enjoy the blind swordsman fight. That one was cool. And I do also enjoy the snake lady and her tentacles that she ended up trying to wrap around him. They were like in between snakes and tentacles, so
right.
But I think that's and even though I know some of it was repetitive, scenes over and over, I did enjoy the fact that he kept Jubai kept lopping up all the ninjas that came at him in that town. For some reason, I enjoyed the heads that got chopped off. So
okay.
I do think some of the flashback scenes were kind of cool too. Done in black and white.
Okay.
So other than that, favorite character, I'm gonna have to go with our Obi-Wan character.
Okay. All right. How about you, Forrest?
All right. Favorite. I have to agree with Dave. I definitely like the fight with the ninjas, the heads rolling. Also, the battle in the bamboo trees and the final battle on the ship. Especially when the ship catches fire and it's sinking, and he's just can't. He just keeps bashing his face in the guys into Gemma's face. So those were my favorite moments. Favorite character, I mean, I probably have to go with Jubei. I would have to go with Jubei. I mean, he's your strong, your strong, stoic, like kind of, like you were saying earlier, Toshiro Mifune type.
All right. Good deal. Actually, I would almost say even more the Americanized version, The Man with No Name, because Mifune often is kind of manic, and Jubei was not quite as manic, but yeah, that same basic archetype. Yeah. How about you, Tammy?
I don't remember the guy's name. The Scully looking dude.
Are you talking about the Obi-Wan
Yeah,
character?
that dude. Yeah.
He was kind of entertaining.
Well, he did look like a Scully looking dude, but
Well,
Yeah,
he's a little bit like yogurt.
kind of a shrunken head, sort of.
but yeah, he was my favorite character. I don't know. I just kind of kick out of him.
Just think, he could have been voiced by Mel Gibson, or not Mel Gibson, Mel Brooks. Sorry.
Okay.
Slightly different.
Just a little.
Actually, he could have had Mel Gibson as Jubei and Mel Brooks as the old dude, and it would have worked perfectly.
There we go.
I'm sorry, I really don't have any like favorite scene or anything, unless you want me to say the end.
Be fine with me.
So,
That's what I would have said years ago. Yeah.
I like the song that was playing at the end.
Yeah. And I'm going to seriously say that, actually. Again, I just love that song. So it is one of my favorite parts of the movie. And I'll go as well. I'm going to say the fight in the bamboo forest, as brief as it was visually impressive, and
yeah,
just enjoyed it. And I like the part at the beginning and he's just kind of flippantly showing them what for. And partly because of scenes like that, I think I will say Jubei's my favorite character, although the old man is pretty cool. Daquan is he's a hard-hearted, hard-nosed old bastard, and he's not very likable, but he's definitely entertaining. I guess that's probably it then. I guess that about wraps them all up. I mean, again, apologies to any fans of Ninja Scroll out there. We didn't really have any super fans on here tonight, so.
I think 20 years ago I could call myself a super fan, but now I'm kind of just a casual.
Right. But anyway, I guess shall we? Dave, I suppose Brandon gave you the what's up next week.
Yes, he did. But let's go into our outros first, and then we'll go. Since last week I was kind of slack on that, so just to give the audience a little bit about who we are.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
So, Forrest, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right. My name is Forrest Bennett. I'm an actor and producer based in Long Island, New York. I'm also on I've got a few projects coming out. Movie called Amityville Turkey Day, which is should be coming out this fall. Also, Silent Night, Bloody Night 3, and Trauma's Bring on the Damned. I'm also on a show here in New York called Under the Radar. We've actually got an episode coming up with our best and worst movies of 2022. And you can also find me on Instagram under My Name Is Not Gump, where I do comic book pickups. I've always got something going on in the pipeline. Also, I just want to say that this is going to be my last episode of Inside Movies Galore for a while. As I'm going to be taking some time to go pursue other projects and interests. I want to thank you guys for having me on your show for the last, I think, like 2 years, the last 2.5 years. Yeah. It's been fun discussing movies with you guys. You guys have opened me up to a lot of movies I've never would have ever seen. Might have not seen. Never seen.
Right.
and I'm glad I've also shared some of my favorites with you guys.
Well,
it's been good. It's been great getting to know all of you.
I think it's ditto, right back at you. But hopefully you're not going to be a stranger for too long, because
of course not.
You're always welcome back, no
Thank
matter
you.
what. So it's been a pleasure having you on the show from all of us. But let's go over to you, Tammy.
Yeah, before I start first, it's been nice getting to know you. I haven't been on as long as everybody else, but it's been fun. So we'll be looking forward to having you back.
Well, thank you, Tammy. It's been getting nice. It's been nice knowing you too.
And as far as me, well, I go on this and another one with my fiance David and talk about movies, and I have my own collections, and now it's summer and I got my first private invite for a car show already, so I'm looking forward to that.
Alrighty, heading over to you, Jake. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
No, it's not summer. It's still spring, but it'll be summer too soon. But anyway, so yeah, my name is Kotobuki Jake. I'm the co-host, or normally am the co-host of the YouTube channel Septum Sim versus the World, where we discuss physical media in all shapes and sizes. It's on a little bit of a hiatus right now. We're doing some projects that we want to have some time to work on the projects, and also both of us are very busy on other projects. But we will, and we had to put our next project on hold till next week. But we will be doing a review of a very different anime. The first season of a long-running harem series called To Love Ru, which is a very, very delightful, fun series that has even more of certain elements than this series did, and much less of certain other elements, and a much more appealing art style overall. And just generally a fun show. We'll look forward to discussing that. And I will say as well, again, I will also say, Forrest, thanks for joining us, and we definitely hope you'll be back for further either this channel or that channel or various others.
Right.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I myself try to do some dabbling in filmmaking. I have several Kickstarter things that I've thrown in money into, and I know a short film that I threw some money into, El Gato Feo, apparently is about to get a festival debut, so that's pretty cool. I don't have a lot of money, but I throw a little bit in now and then. And most of the time, I just keep very, 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 very busy between a full-time job and a working for the county, and also another full-time job as one of the co-founders and co-owners of RVA Homegrown Natives, where we grow native plants. And this time of year is the busy time. And in fact, our big sale is this weekend. So we're going to be at Maymont, and that is, for those of you in the RVA, Maymont's Herbs Galore is one of the big events of the season. Very fun, but it's going to be a lot of work.
So how many people are involved in your company that you've been involved with for
My company?
Yeah, you're
technically there's 2 employees, and then there's a handful of sort of volunteers. It's not a big one yet, but which is one of the reasons why we're so busy. We need more people. But anyway, I do try to make some time to get some viewing done to come join these fine folks for our weekly discussions, and and then again, occasionally for other programs as well. And yeah, I'll look forward to. I don't actually know what's on tap for next month, so I'm kind of anticipating hearing what we're going to be looking at.
Alrighty. Well, first of all, my name is David Streggy. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore. So thank you for coming along with us on this fantabulous film journey we've been having. I've finally seen Ninja Scroll, so that's at least out of the way. But that being said, I also moonlight under a different channel called Delusions of Grandeur, which I just recently put up a video pickup a video of some recent stuff that I've acquired, which is the first of many this year. I know I did at least one other pickup video, but there's a new one up there. And I also do some video reviews from time to time. Also podcast on the same channel on Sundays. In fact, I still have to figure out what we're watching this Sunday, since our good friend Ron or Kroll still needs to choose it. So, but that being said, I do have the list of movies that have been chosen for this next month. So first up, we have Star Wars: A New Hope.
Ooh.
Then we have Star Wars: Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
Then we have Star Wars: Return of the Jedi.
I sense a theme.
As you sense a theme in the Force.
The Force is strong with this one. And they're supposedly going to be hosted by Ron. We'll see.
Yep, and just in time for May the 4th, too.
Yeah.
And then we have actually the Return of the Jedi is actually going to be hosted by Brandon. But the other two will be hosted by Ron. And then one of my choices made it through, Demolition Man.
One
Okay.
of my favorite Stallone movies.
Able to get some Taco Bell just for the occasion.
you get some armor hot dogs.
That too, I could have had that, which I think I'll go with Sam's Club hot dogs if I have to. And then, of course, last but not least, Jake, one of your choices made it through. Weathering with You.
Oh, wow. That's a slightly different choice from the others. Very cool.
So looking forward to this lineup. I think we're finally covering something other than the Star Wars holiday special.
Yeah, it is kind of sad that was the only Star Wars.
Well, and I think we did it twice because we had new members and stuff. So, but looking forward to rechecking them out. And if I don't have copies, I know that Tammy has copies, so we'll definitely have to check those out soon. And hopefully y'all have enjoyed our discussion on this film. Like, share, and subscribe. Let us know down in the comments what you thought of our thoughts on this film. I'm sure there are others of you out there that have enjoyed this movie a lot more than some of us did, but we could be wrong. And hopefully you'll be back next week as we begin a new month, and may the farce be with you. So everyone say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Alrighty, hold on here.